In the gleaming command center of the Coalition flagship Eternal Voyager Admiral Kim stood motionless before the holographic display. The blue light cast deep shadows across his weathered face as he reviewed the disturbing reports from the frontier worlds. His fingers swiped through virtual screens filled with data from the outer colonies. 3 outposts gone silent in less than 2 months, he muttered to himself. No pattern, no warning. The door slid open with a soft hiss as Commander Park entered. She walked briskly to the Admiral's side, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. The analysis from Outpost 7 just arrived, sir, Park said, transferring the data to the main display. Kim's eyes narrowed as he studied the new information. These transmission patterns make no sense. Our linguists can't match them to any known species in the Coalition database. The room fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's systems. On the display, a waveform pulsed, the captured audio from the last transmission received from Outpost 12 before it went dark. Play it again, ordered Kim. The room filled with static. Then a voice, distant yet crystal clear, speaking words in no language either officer recognized. Yet somehow, they both understood the meaning. Return what was taken. The debt remains unpaid. Park shivered involuntarily. That's the 3rd time I've heard it, and it still makes my skin crawl. Kim zoomed in on a star chart marking the locations of the affected outposts. The survivors from Outpost 4 all reported the same thing. Whispers in the communication systems before the attacks. They called it the human voice. Humans? Park's eyebrows rose in surprise. But that's impossible. They've been extinct for over 3,000 years. Kim nodded grimly. Their homeworld was destroyed long before our ancestors achieved spaceflight. Historical records show Earth was consumed when its sun unexpectedly went supernova. He pulled up ancient archival footage, grainy images of a blue-green planet circling a yellow star, followed by a blinding flash as the star exploded. Nothing could have survived. Then how do you explain this? Park transferred a data packet to the main screen. I had our technicians analyze the transmission patterns. They match protocols found in our deepest historical archives. Communication methods used by humans in their early space exploration era. Kim stared at the comparison charts. The overlap undeniable. This can't be coincidence. There's more, Park continued. I interviewed the survivors from Outpost 4 myself. Before the attack, their sensors detected energy signatures unlike anything in our database. When I ran those patterns through historical archives, I found a partial match. Theoretical energy outputs from experimental human propulsion systems dating back to their final recorded century. The Admiral walked slowly around the holographic display, studying the affected sectors from all angles. If humans were truly wiped out, who or what is using their communication methods? And why now, after thousands of years of silence? Park hesitated before answering. There's a theory circulating among the science division. It's unconventional. At this point, Commander, I'm open to unconventional. What if some humans escaped? What if they've been hiding all this time, watching us, waiting? Park's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her unease. The survivors described the whispers as being everywhere at once, in the communication systems, in their personal devices, even in sealed rooms with no technology present. Kim's expression darkened. You're suggesting some form of technology far beyond our understanding. Or perhaps even beyond technology as we define it, Park replied. The ancient records describe humans as remarkably adaptive and surprisingly resourceful despite their technological limitations. A soft alert chimed, and a new report materialized on the display. Kim scanned it quickly, his posture stiffening. Outpost 9 has just gone silent. Same pattern, strange transmissions, reports of whispers, then nothing. He activated the ship-wide communication system. This is Admiral Kim. Set course for the Corin sector, maximum speed. All senior staff to the command center immediately. As officers began filing into the room, Kim pulled Park aside. "There's something else in the historical archives you should see." He accessed a secured database, entering his highest clearance codes. A document appeared, ancient text translated into modern script. This was recovered from Earth's orbital data repositories before the supernova. It's a military doctrine from their final recorded era. Park read aloud. "When facing a technologically superior enemy with overwhelming numbers, conventional warfare ensures defeat. Instead, become a ghost. Let them believe you are destroyed. Watch, learn, survive. Strike only when necessary, and in ways your enemy cannot comprehend." A chill ran through the command center that had nothing to do with the environmental systems. "Sir," called out the sensor officer from across the room, "we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations in the space lanes between outposts 9 and 13. "On screen," ordered Kim. The main display showed empty space that suddenly rippled, as if reality itself was being disturbed. "What is that?" asked one of the junior officers. Admiral Kim and Commander Park exchanged grim looks. "If I had to guess," Kim said quietly, "I'd say someone's trying to get our attention." The ripples intensified, forming patterns too regular to be natural. The communication system crackled with static before a voice emerged, clear, calm, and speaking the Coalition's modern language perfectly. "You study our past while repeating our mistakes. You believed us extinct, yet failed to ask why our star would suddenly destabilize. 3,000 years we have watched and waited. No more. The reckoning begins now." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. "Alert all Coalition worlds," Kim ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest, "and prepare a complete report on everything we know about humans, their strengths, their weaknesses, their methods of warfare. If they've somehow survived all this time, we need to understand what we're facing." As the officers rushed to carry out his orders, Kim turned to Park. "The historical records claim humans were barely beginning to explore their own solar system when they were destroyed. Either those records are wrong, or they've evolved into something we can't begin to comprehend," Park finished. "And they've had 3,000 years to prepare." Outside the viewports of the Eternal Voyager *, the stars continued their silent vigil, giving no hint of the ancient eyes that might be watching from the darkness between them. Dr. Lee floated silently through the twisted metal and shattered glass that had once been Outpost 9, her magnetic boots occasionally activated to anchor her to larger pieces of debris as she navigated the field of destruction. The beam from her helmet light cut through the darkness, illuminating frozen scenes of chaos. Dining areas with meals still on tables, personal quarters with belongings suspended in the void, and command consoles with emergency protocols still flashing. "Be careful near Section 4, she spoke into her comm unit. "The structural integrity is compromised." Around her, 5 other researchers from the Coalition Science Division moved methodically through different sections of the ruined outpost. They all wore the distinctive white and silver environmental suits of the Research Division, each carrying specialized collection tools for salvaging data. "How many people were stationed here?" asked Choi, the youngest member of the team, his voice tight with emotion. 237, replied Dr. Lee. "No survivors." She pushed away from a shattered bulkhead and drifted toward what remained of the primary communication array. Unlike the other sections of the outpost, which showed signs of explosive decompression, the communication center appeared to have been precisely targeted. The damage here was surgical, key components destroyed while surrounding equipment remained untouched. This wasn't random, she muttered to herself, running her scanner over the communication array's central processor. Whatever attacked this outpost knew exactly what it was targeting. Her scanner beeped, indicating it had found something. The memory core of the main communication system was still intact, protected by multiple redundant safeguards. Dr. Lee carefully extracted the core and secured it in her collection case. "Dr. Lee," called Jin from the other side of the debris field. I found something unusual in the auxiliary command center. Lee pushed off gently, navigating through the floating wreckage to reach Jin's position. The auxiliary command center was designed as a backup in case the main control room was compromised. It was smaller, more fortified, and required the highest security clearance to access. Jin pointed to a console that appeared completely undamaged. This terminal was activated manually just before the outpost went silent. Someone was trying to send a message. Dr. Lee connected her data tablet to the console. The power reserves are nearly depleted, but there might be enough to access the most recent commands. Her fingers moved quickly across the interface as she bypassed security protocols, using her coalition emergency override codes. The screen flickered to life, displaying a sequence of emergency communications. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the timestamp. This was sent 17 minutes after the initial attack began. Someone survived long enough to reach this room and send a final transmission. The team gathered around as Dr. Lee downloaded the data. Back on their research vessel, safely positioned at the edge of the debris field, Dr. Lee connected the salvaged memory core and the auxiliary command data to the ship's main laboratory system. "Computer, synchronize and reconstruct the final communications from Outpost 9, she instructed. The laboratory's holographic display activated, showing a three-dimensional reconstruction of the outpost's final moments. Emergency alarms blared. Personnel ran through corridors. Then, something impossible. Every electronic system in the outpost simultaneously displayed the same message in ancient human script before translating to modern coalition language. Dr. Lee froze the reconstruction. "There," she said, pointing to the translated text. That appeared on every screen throughout the outpost exactly 2 minutes before the primary attack. The message was simple. Asterisk, leave this sector. What was taken must be returned. Asterisk. Resume playback, Dr. Lee commanded. The reconstruction continued, showing the outpost's commanding officer, Captain Han, ordering an emergency evacuation. Before the evacuation could begin, the outpost's external sensors detected an energy surge unlike anything in their database. Then, with precision that suggested intelligence rather than random destruction, key systems throughout the outpost were targeted and destroyed. The reconstruction showed Captain Han fighting his way to the auxiliary command center, bleeding from multiple injuries. He sealed the reinforced door behind him and activated the emergency communication system. "This is Captain Han of Outpost 9. His recorded voice spoke through the static. "We are under attack by an unknown entity. It communicated with us before attacking, using ancient human language patterns." The captain coughed, his injuries clearly severe. "I'm sending this on all coalition frequencies. The entity responsible for the attack made references to something taken from them. I have accessed historical archives about this sector. 3,000 years ago, this was the site of a human deep space research station. Our outpost was built using resources harvested from the remains of their facility." The transmission became increasingly distorted as the outpost systems failed around him. "They're still here," Captain Han's voice grew urgent. "They've been watching us all along. Tell Admiral K." The transmission cut off as the auxiliary command center was breached. Silence fell over the research vessel's laboratory as the reconstruction ended. Dr. Lee disconnected the memory core and placed it in a secure containment unit. "There's more," she said quietly. "I've isolated the actual voice pattern from the transmission that swept through the outpost before the attack." She activated a separate audio system, disconnected from the ship's main computer as a precaution. The laboratory filled with static. Then a voice emerged. Neither male nor female, neither young nor old, speaking words that seemed to bypass normal auditory processing and implant themselves directly into the minds of everyone present. Asterisk, "We warned you once. We will not warn again. The stars belong to those who respect them." Asterisk. Choi shivered visibly. "How can we all understand it? It's not speaking any coalition language." Dr. Lee ran the audio through multiple analysis programs. "Because it's not just sound," she explained, pointing to the waveform display. There are embedded patterns within the audio, patterns that match how our brains process language. It's speaking directly to our neural pathways. She pulled up comparison charts from the historical archives. The voice pattern matches fragments of human speech recovered from ancient Earth transmissions, but the complexity of the embedded neural patterns suggests technology far beyond what humans were supposed to possess when they were allegedly destroyed. Could it be another species using human communication methods to confuse us? Asked Jin. Dr. Lee shook her head. I don't think so. Look at this. She displayed a deep analysis of the voice pattern. There are emotional markers in the transmission, specifically restrained anger and disappointment. Whatever sent this message wasn't just communicating. It was expressing genuine emotion. She gathered her team around the central table. We need to send everything we found to Coalition headquarters immediately. I believe we're dealing with actual human survivors, or something that evolved from humanity. And they've been watching us for thousands of years. As Dr. Lee prepared the transmission to headquarters, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being observed. She glanced at the laboratory's viewports, looking out at the stars surrounding the debris field of Outpost 9. Computer, she said suddenly, run a full spectrum scan of our immediate vicinity. The results appeared on her screen, causing her breath to catch. Everyone, she called to her team, look at this. The scan showed something impossible. Microscopic distortions in space-time surrounding their vessel, forming patterns too regular to be natural phenomena. They're here, Dr. Lee whispered, watching us right now. As if in response, every system on their research vessel simultaneously activated, screens displaying a simple message in Coalition standard language. You seek to understand. This is commendable. Not all will be destroyed. The Grand Council chamber of the Coalition headquarters on Nexus Prime buzzed with anxious energy. 500 representatives from 18 species had gathered for the emergency session, their usual orderly procedures abandoned in the face of growing crisis. The vast circular room, with its soaring crystal dome that revealed the star-filled sky above, had never seemed so small or so tense. High Elder Jun, the most senior member of the council, struck the ceremonial chime 3 times. The sound reverberated through the chamber, gradually silencing the worried conversations. This emergency session of the Coalition Council is now in session, Elder Jun announced, his voice amplified throughout the space. We face an unprecedented situation. In the past 30 days, 7 outposts have been destroyed. 3 research vessels have vanished. Communications across 2 entire sectors have been disrupted by unknown entities broadcasting in what appears to be human language patterns. A murmur swept through the assembly at the mention of humans. For most species in the Coalition, humans were little more than a historical footnote, an extinct species whose homeworld had been destroyed long before the Coalition formed. Representative Song has requested to address the Council regarding these events. Elder Jun continued. As chief historian of the Coalition archives, her insights may prove valuable. Representative Song rose from her seat in the inner circle. Unlike most council members in their ceremonial robes, she wore the simple gray uniform of the historical division. Her movements were measured as she walked to the central speaking platform. Honored representatives, Song began, her calm voice contrasting with the tension in the room. I have spent the past week reviewing all available historical data on the species known as humans. What I have discovered is troubling. She activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. An image appeared, a blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. Earth, the human homeworld, as it appeared approximately 3,200 years ago. Song explained. According to our historical records, the star unexpectedly went supernova, destroying Earth and ending the human species. Only a handful of their colonies in their home system survived long enough to be documented before they too collapsed without their homeworld's support. She gestured, and the image changed to show the same star system engulfed in the blinding light of a stellar explosion. This event is recorded as fact in our archives. It forms the foundation of our understanding of human history. Song continued. But what if our records are wrong? The council chamber grew even quieter. 3 days ago, I received clearance to access the sealed archives. Historical records deemed too sensitive or potentially disruptive for general access. Song said. There, I found documents that contradict our accepted history. The holographic display changed again, showing ancient text in a script few in the chamber recognized. This is a military document from Earth's final recorded era, Song translated. It outlines a strategy called the Ghost Protocol. Allow me to read the relevant passage. She cleared her throat and read. When facing a technologically superior enemy with overwhelming numbers, conventional warfare ensures defeat. Instead, become a ghost. Let them believe you are destroyed. Watch, learn, survive. Strike only when necessary, and in ways your enemy cannot comprehend. The chamber erupted in concerned whispers. Elder Jun struck the chime once to restore order. I understand this is disturbing. Song continued when silence returned. But there is more. The sealed archives contain astronomical data that suggests Earth's sun was stable and showed no signs of imminent nova. In fact, based on stellar physics, that particular type of star should not have been capable of going supernova at all. She brought up new images, ancient photographs showing humans in early spacesuits, primitive spacecraft, and orbital habitats. Humans were just beginning to expand beyond their planet when the supposed nova occurred. Their technology was far behind our ancestors. They would have posed no threat to the early coalition species who were already traveling between stars. Song paused, her expression grave. But the humans were aware they were being observed. Their communication records show they detected unknown vessels in their system, vessels that matched descriptions of early coalition scout ships. They knew they were not alone in the universe, and they suspected the observers might not be friendly. A representative from the Talon species stood. Are you suggesting our ancestors destroyed the human homeworld? That goes against everything the coalition stands for. Song held up her hand. I am not making accusations. I am presenting historical data that contradicts our accepted narrative. The records are incomplete, but they raise a troubling possibility. What if the humans, aware they were outmatched technologically but determined to survive, implemented their ghost protocol? What if they staged their own extinction? The holographic display changed to show a map of coalition space with highlighted regions where the recent attacks had occurred. Each affected location has one thing in common, Song explained. They were all built using resources harvested from what we believed were abandoned human outposts or debris fields. We thought we were recycling the remnants of an extinct civilization. What if, instead, we were dismantling something they had purposely left behind? An older council member slowly stood. You're suggesting these attacks are what? Revenge. After more than 3,000 years. I don't know, Song admitted. But consider this. If humans did survive and scatter among the stars, they would have developed in isolation, possibly taking their evolution in directions we cannot predict. 3,000 years is a long time for a species to adapt, to advance, to change. She brought up the audio waveforms from the recent attacks. These communications show complexity that goes beyond normal language. Dr. Lee's research team discovered these signals contain embedded patterns that interface directly with neural pathways. Technology far beyond what the Coalition currently possesses, and certainly beyond what humans were supposed to have when their world was destroyed. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. What if, Song continued, her voice now barely above a whisper yet heard by all. They staged their extinction, scattered among the stars, and waited. What if they've been watching us all this time? Before anyone could respond, the chamber's communication system activated independently. Every screen in the room displayed the same message in ancient human script before translating to modern coalition language. Asterisk, the Ghost Protocol was implemented not out of aggression, but survival. We chose to disappear rather than face annihilation. For 3 millennia, We have watched in silence as you expanded. We would have remained ghosts forever had you not disturbed our monuments to the dead. Asterisk. Panic erupted in the chamber as representatives realized something was directly accessing their most secure systems. Elder Jun desperately tried to restore order, striking the chime repeatedly. In the chaos, Representative Song stood motionless, staring at the message. Somehow, she wasn't surprised. As a historian, she had studied countless civilizations, and one truth remained constant across all species. Nothing was more dangerous than a cornered animal fighting for survival, and humans, it seemed, had been cornered long ago. "We need to respond," she said, her voice cutting through the panic. "Not with weapons or threats, but with acknowledgement. If they've been watching us for 3,000 years and are only now revealing themselves, they must have a reason. We need to understand what that reason is." As if in answer, the message on the screens changed. Asterisk, the time for hiding has ended. The time for reconciliation has begun. We await your representatives at these coordinates. Come unarmed and with open minds. After 3,000 years, it is time for humans and the coalition to finally meet face to face. Asterisk. Commander June stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship Asterisk, Eternal Justice Asterisk, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. Through the massive view screen, he watched the stars drift past as the largest battle group ever assembled by the coalition traveled toward the coordinates provided by the mysterious entities. 12 capital ships, 37 support vessels, and over 100 fighter craft moved in perfect formation, a display of power meant to intimidate. But Jun felt no confidence in their show of strength. After reviewing Representative Song's findings and Dr. Lee's analysis, he harbored serious doubts about their mission. "We're approaching the designated coordinates," Commander reported his navigation officer. "ETA 3 minutes. June nodded, his face betraying none of the anxiety churning in his stomach. "All ships maintain formation. Weapons systems on standby only. Do not power up unless I give the direct order." His second-in-command, Captain Min, stepped closer and spoke in a low voice. "Sir, the Council's directives were clear. We are to make contact and assess the threat level. If these entities prove hostile, we are authorized to use force." "I understand the directives," Jun replied quietly. "But I studied the attacks on our outposts. Whatever we're facing, it possesses technology far beyond our understanding. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so already." The bridge fell silent as the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Before them stretched empty space, no planets, no stars in the immediate vicinity, just the endless void. "Sensors detect nothing unusual," Commander reported the science officer. "The coordinates lead to nothing." June frowned. "Run a full spectrum scan. Check for any anomalies in spacetime." As the crew carried out his orders, Jun wondered if they had been lured into a trap. The Coalition Council had debated for days whether to send representatives as requested. In the end, they had compromised, sending a diplomatic team protected by the fleet's firepower. The diplomatic vessel was positioned at the center of their formation, carrying Representative Song and 5 other high-ranking council members. "Sir," the science officer called out, her voice tight with concern. "We're detecting unusual energy readings directly ahead. Space itself appears to be folding." On the view screen, the emptiness before them began to ripple, as if reality was a pond and someone had dropped a stone into it. The ripples expanded, forming patterns too regular to be natural. "All ships, maintain position," Jun ordered, his voice calm despite the unprecedented phenomenon unfolding before them. "Do not engage weapon systems." The ripples intensified, the fabric of space folding in on itself until a tear appeared, not black like a conventional rift, but shimmering with colors no one on the bridge could properly describe. Through this impossible opening emerged a vessel unlike anything in Coalition records. It defied simple description. Parts of it appeared solid like metal, while other sections seemed to be pure energy in constant flux. It had no visible propulsion system, no weapon ports, no external sensors that June could identify. The vessel was not particularly large, perhaps one-third the size of the asterisk Eternal Justice asterisk, but its mere presence seemed to distort the space around it. "Sir, it's broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously," reported the communications officer. "The signal is bypassing our filters and security protocols." "Let it through," June ordered. The bridge speakers activated, and a voice filled the space, neither male nor female, neither young nor old, but somehow conveying ancient wisdom and immense power. "We are the guardians, inheritors of humanity's legacy. For 5,000 years, we have observed your coalition. We watched as you strip-mined worlds, extinguished native life, repeated the very mistakes that nearly destroyed our creators." June stepped forward. "This is Commander June of the Coalition Fleet. We come seeking peaceful dialogue. We wish to understand." The voice continued as if he hadn't spoken. "Your ancestors believed they erased all evidence of their crimes. They were mistaken. Nothing is ever truly forgotten. Nothing is ever truly lost. The time of judgment has arrived." Throughout the fleet, every screen and display suddenly activated independently. Historical footage that no one aboard had ever seen began playing. Ancient recordings showing coalition ancestor species conducting surveillance of early human civilization. The footage showed primitive Earth cities being observed by advanced vessels, human communications being intercepted and analyzed, resources being secretly extracted from their solar system, while the humans remained unaware of the observers. Then came the most disturbing images, a coalition ancestral council meeting where the decision was made. The humans showed dangerous potential. Their aggressive tendencies combined with their adaptive intelligence make them a future threat. They must not be allowed to advance beyond their current technological state. The footage continued, showing coalition ancestor vessels positioning devices around Earth's sun, devices clearly designed to artificially trigger a stellar catastrophe. The final images showed the desperate evacuation attempts as the human race realized their star was destabilizing, their primitive spacecraft overwhelmed by the sudden disaster. Throughout the fleet, crew members watched in horror as their historical narrative collapsed. What they had always believed was a natural stellar event had been a deliberate genocide attempt by their ancestors. On the bridge of the Eternal Justice Commander June sank slowly into his command chair. "Is this verified? Is this real?" he asked of no one in particular. The voice answered. The archives of every coalition world have now been updated with the complete historical record. What was hidden has been revealed. 5,000 years ago, your ancestors attempted to eradicate humanity rather than allow them to develop naturally. They feared what humans might become. The strange vessel moved closer to the fleet, seemingly unconcerned by the hundreds of weapons theoretically trained on it. Their fears were not entirely unfounded. Humanity possessed both great capacity for destruction and remarkable potential for creation. But your ancestors had no right to decide their fate. How did humans survive? June found himself asking. If our ancestors truly caused Earth's sun to nova. They did not all survive, the voice replied, a hint of ancient sorrow coloring its tone. Billions perished. But some had already established outposts beyond their home system. Others were saved by beings your coalition has yet to encounter. The remnants scattered, hiding their existence, evolving along paths your ancestors could never have predicted. The view screen changed to show the strange vessel more clearly. As they watched, parts of it seemed to shift and transform, becoming more recognizable, taking on architectural elements that matched ancient human designs found in historical records. We are not humans as they once were, the voice explained. We are their children, their legacy, their vengeance, and their mercy. Some of us have physical form, Others exist as pure consciousness. Some remain in normal space. Others have learned to dwell between dimensions. We have waited. We have watched. We have judged. Asterisk. Throughout the fleet, systems began shutting down. Weapons, engines, shields, all deactivating simultaneously, despite the crew's desperate attempts to maintain control. "Are you going to destroy us?" June asked, surprised at the calmness in his own voice. "Is this revenge for what our ancestors did?" The strange vessel pulsed with light before responding. Asterisk. If revenge were our purpose, your civilization would already be ash. No, Commander June. We reveal ourselves now because you stand at a crossroads. Your coalition expands ever outward, consuming resources, occasionally displacing or absorbing less advanced species. You repeat the patterns that nearly destroyed humanity. We will not allow this to continue. Asterisk. The diplomatic vessel at the center of the fleet suddenly reported that their communication systems had activated independently. Representative Song's voice came through on all channels. "Commander June, they're communicating with us directly. They're showing us visions of possible futures, some beautiful, some terrible. They say the choice is ours, but the time for ignorance has passed." As Song spoke, the strange vessel began to change again, expanding and shifting until it resembled a massive gateway, the rift behind it growing larger. Asterisk. The judgment is not yet complete. Asterisk. The voice announced. Asterisk. Representatives of your coalition will accompany us to witness the full truth of your history and the potential of your future. Then we will decide whether your civilization deserves to continue its expansion among the stars. Asterisk. The diplomatic vessel began moving toward the gateway, its engines controlled by an outside force. "Hold position," June ordered, but it was clear no one aboard the diplomatic vessel had control. Asterisk. Fear not, Commander. Asterisk. The voice said, softer now. Asterisk. No harm will come to your representatives. They will return with knowledge that will transform your understanding of the universe. The question is whether your coalition will have the wisdom to use that knowledge appropriately. Asterisk. As the diplomatic vessel disappeared into the gateway, Commander June realized he was witnessing something beyond mere first contact. This was a moment of reckoning, not just for the coalition, but for the very notion of what it meant to be an advanced civilization. Admiral Kim stood at the vast viewport of the newly constructed Guardian Coalition Joint Command Station. The station orbited a small blue moon in what had once been restricted space at the edge of coalition territory. One full cycle had passed since the day everything changed, since the Guardians had revealed themselves and the true history of humanity. Kim watched as vessels from both civilizations moved in coordinated patterns below. Coalition ships with their sleek, metallic designs flew alongside Guardian vessels that still defied easy description. Some appeared solid one moment and shifted to pure energy the next. The sight was both beautiful and unsettling. "Still getting used to it?" asked a voice beside him. Kim turned to find a Guardian representative had joined him. The being called itself Hana and appeared mostly human, though its form occasionally rippled with energy patterns that suggested it was much more than a simple biological entity. "I doubt I'll ever fully get used to it," Kim admitted. "One cycle ago, we believed humans were extinct. Now we're building joint fleets with their descendants." Hana smiled. "Change is difficult, especially change of this magnitude." The Guardian gestured at the activity below. Dozens of ships prepared for the first joint expedition to a star system beyond coalition space, a mission of exploration rather than expansion. "The council meeting went well today," Kim said. "The new trade agreements with the human settlements on Proxima I and Kepler VI have been approved, though many representatives still expressed concerns about the technology exchange limitations." "Your people fear us," said Hana. "This is understandable but unnecessary." Kim raised an eyebrow. "You destroyed 19 outposts and disabled our most powerful weapons with barely any effort. Fear seems appropriate." "We revealed ourselves because we had no choice," Hana replied. For thousands of years, we watched your coalition expand. We remained hidden, observing as you developed. Most of your worlds evolved peaceful, cooperative societies. But your expansion methods, your treatment of resources and developing worlds, mirrored the same patterns that nearly destroyed our creators. Kim turned back to the viewport. Beyond the joint fleet, he could see the edge of the protective field that now surrounded what the Guardians called a monument world, a planet that had once hosted a human colony. The field prevented any unauthorized approach or scanning. How many? He asked quietly. How many human worlds remained hidden all this time? 47 planets and 312 space habitats host predominantly human populations. Hannah answered. Approximately 12 billion individuals who would recognize themselves as human descendants, though many have been modified over the millennia through natural evolution or technological enhancement. Kim shook his head in wonder. And we never detected them. The Ghost Protocol was comprehensive, Hannah explained. Early human survivors realized they couldn't match the coalition ancestors technologically, so they developed in different directions. Some pursued biological adaptation. Others merged with their technology. Still others explored dimensional shifting, existing slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. A small transport vessel passed close to the viewport, its design unlike anything in coalition records. Inside, Kim could see figures that appeared almost human, but with subtle differences: skin with a bluish tint, eyes larger than normal, bodies more slender and graceful. The humans from the water worlds of Epsilon Eridani, Hannah explained, following Kim's gaze. Their ancestors modify themselves to survive in oceanic environments. They can breathe underwater and withstand extreme pressures. They're eager to share their environmental adaptation techniques with compatible coalition species. Kim nodded. In the past cycle, the coalition had learned that human survivors had developed along countless different evolutionary paths. Some remained recognizably human. Others had changed so dramatically they would never be recognized as descendants of Earth. The Coalition Archives completion project is now 60% complete, Kim said, changing the subject. The historical records your people provided are extensive. It will take years to fully integrate them with our existing knowledge. Truth is sometimes painful, Hannah acknowledged. Many of your people struggle with the revelation that their ancestors attempted genocide. Kim's expression hardened. Yes, that particular truth has caused significant societal disruption. Several worlds have declared mourning periods. Religious institutions are in turmoil. Some extremist groups refuse to accept the evidence despite its overwhelming authenticity. How do you personally reconcile it? Hannah asked. Kim considered the question carefully. I remind myself that I am not responsible for the actions of ancestors who lived 5,000 years ago. I can only be responsible for what I do now, for how I help shape our future relationship. Hannah's form shimmered slightly, a gesture Kim had come to recognize as approval. That is why you were selected as liaison, the Guardian said. Your capacity to acknowledge past wrongs without being paralyzed by them is precisely what both our civilizations need. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. A holographic display materialized between them, showing Commander June aboard the expedition flagship. Admiral Kim, final preparations are complete, June reported. All vessels report ready status. We await your authorization to proceed. Thank you, Commander, Kim replied. Begin departure sequence at your discretion. As June signed off, Kim and Hannah watched the joint fleet begin to move, arranging themselves in formation before the Guardian vessels generated the spatial rifts that would carry them beyond known space. We have much to learn from each other, Hannah said softly. Your people possess insights and perspectives we lost long ago. Despite our technological advancement, there are areas where your approaches have merit. I'm curious, Kim said. Your people could have destroyed the coalition entirely. After what our ancestors attempted, revenge would have been understandable. Why offer partnership instead? Hannah's form shifted, becoming more distinctly human, the energy patterns settling into a more solid appearance. Because we remember, the Guardian said. We remember Earth, not just its destruction, but its beauty, its diversity, its potential. Human history was filled with terrible conflicts, but also with remarkable reconciliations. We learned that vengeance perpetuates cycles of violence, while forgiveness creates possibility. The beam gestured at the departing fleet. We could have destroyed your civilization, as yours once tried to destroy ours. Instead, we offer partnership. We return to the stars not for conquest, but for preservation. Will your children learn to join us? Kim watched as the first vessels disappeared into the rifts, embarking on a journey unlike any the coalition had previously undertaken. Exploration with strict protocols against interference, observation without exploitation, contact without conquest. Perhaps, he said, a small smile forming. We already have. Below them, the final ships entered the rifts, which closed behind them like gentle ripples in a pond returning to stillness. For the first time in coalition history, its vessels traveled the stars not to claim or consume, but simply to learn. Hannah moved closer to the viewport, placing a hand against the transparent material. There is something I have not yet told you, Admiral. Something few of the Guardians have shared with your people. Kim turned, curious. What is it? Not all humans fled to the stars. Some remained behind, hiding in the most remote regions of Earth. Kim's eyes widened. But the supernova was controlled. Hannah finished. Your ancestors intended genocide. But the human survivors who became the first Guardians learned to manipulate the stellar event. They couldn't stop it entirely, but they contained it, protected key regions of Earth. The planet was devastated but not destroyed. The Guardian waved a hand, and the viewport display changed, showing a blue-green world with vast oceans and scattered landmasses. Much changed from ancient images of Earth, but recognizably the same planet. Earth remains, Admiral Kim, hidden behind dimensional veils and protective fields far more sophisticated than those around our monument worlds. For 5,000 years, life has continued there, adapting and evolving in isolation. The descendants of those who remained know nothing of the wider universe. To them,